We getting to them, y'all. They hear us, y'all. It looks like the Indiana Fever had to go and hire a new shout-out specialist, a shout-out coordinator, because Stephanie White has failed to give Caitlin Clark the proper props and respect for her performances. And it looks like the Indiana Fever might have made some changes because they are sick and tired of getting blasted because of Stephanie White's post-game antics. And she tried it again today. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you...
The Indiana Fever front office has officially reached a level of absolute panic that is so embarrassing. You actually have to laugh at it just to process the sheer absurdity of the situation. The organization has received so much massive, overwhelming backlash regarding head coach Stephanie White's blatant refusal to publicly praise Caitlin Clark that they have literally resorted to hiring a brand new staff member just to do her job. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Indiana Fever are currently deploying an absolute random shout-out specialist in the post-game locker room because the head coach physically cannot bring herself to compliment her generational point guard. You are tuned into WNBA Verdict, the absolute authority on the hidden agendas and pure comedy of professional basketball. Smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's break down exactly how Stephanie White just embarrassed herself on camera yet again. To truly appreciate the sheer comedy of this situation, you have to look at the undeniable, massive shift that has occurred on the hardwood over the last week. The Indiana Fever started the season as an absolute clown show while trying to force a stagnant, isolation-heavy system dictated by Stephanie White. But over the last 4 games, the coaching staff finally waved the white flag, conceded to reality, and allowed the roster to play pure, fast-paced Caitlin Clark basketball. The result? A massive, undeniable 4-game winning streak. The team just dropped a staggering 113 points in a regulation game, completely shattering offensive records. You would assume a head coach would be absolutely thrilled to celebrate her point guard for orchestrating a historic offensive masterpiece. But when you look at the post-game locker room footage, it is incredibly clear that the front office had to actively intervene to stop White from insulting her star player again. The locker room footage starts out exactly how you would expect, Stephanie White delivering an incredibly generic corporate speech. She is rambling on about weathering the storm.
You like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated as always. We got to get right into things. So, it has been an absolute clown show when it comes to the Indiana Fever to start out the season. But the last 4 games, when they have finally conceded and decided, hey, we're going to play Caitlin Clark ball, they have won 4 in a row. And that's why I think it is over. It is dead for the Stephanie White style of play. Now, we know Stephanie White has continually dropped the ball and embarrassed Caitlin Clark in post-game situations, kind of refusing to shout her out and things like that. But it looks like
having a 69% assist rate, closing the fist, and playing connected defense. She manages to personally shout out Monique Billings and Kelsey Mitchell without any hesitation. But the absolute second it was time to acknowledge the player who actually orchestrated the 113-point explosion, White completely checks out. Suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, a completely random staff member pops up from the back of the huddle, like the WWE Undertaker, and starts awkwardly reading Caitlin Clark's assist records off a piece of paper. It is pure comedy. You mean to tell me the Indiana Fever had to go on to Indeed, post a job listing, and hire a shout-out coordinator because the head coach is too stubborn to read the box score herself? The man did his best on his first day on the job, but the fact that he was even necessary tells you everything you need to know about the toxic dynamic on that sideline. If you thought the locker room was awkward, the post-game press conference was an absolute masterclass in blatant, intentional deflection. The media immediately handed Stephanie White an absolute softball question. A reporter explicitly asked her what was humming on the offensive end of the floor to allow the team to score a historic 113 points. All White had to say was, Caitlin Clark pushed the pace and delivered 14 brilliant assists. But she couldn't do it. Without skipping a single beat, White completely deflected the question, claiming that the offense only looked good because they were better defensively and limiting free throw opportunities. A reporter asks you about a historic offensive explosion, and you immediately start talking about paint touches and defensive stops just to avoid saying the name Caitlin Clark. It is an absolutely sickening level of ego from a head coach who is actively being saved by her rookie. And if you need ultimate proof that White is fully capable of delivering passionate praise when she actually wants to, just look at how she responded to questions about Sophie Cunningham. A reporter asked about Cunningham playing through a recent elbow procedure, and White absolutely lit up.
They took that duty off of Stephanie White's hands, even though she botched the press conference damn near. We got to get into that. Let's go to the post-game locker room.
Hey! All right, y'all, good job. Really good job. Finally having some breathing room, shortening those stretches. I mean, we did a lot of really good things. 69% assist rate, great job. 4 in double figures, 3 with 20s. We had runs of 28-12, 17-4. I mean, we did some really good stuff. 113 points, a regulation record. More than anything, y'all, we played together. Okay, we played together collectively.
She passionately praised Cunningham's toughness, her ability to space the floor, and her outstanding leadership. She called her tough as nails and raved about her shooting ability. Let's be completely clear. Sophie Cunningham played a great game and absolutely deserves praise. But the glaring double standard is impossible to ignore. White will eagerly spend 2 minutes praising a role player's elbow procedure, but she has to be backed into a corner by the media to even acknowledge a 14-assist masterclass. Eventually, a reporter finally forced the issue, directly pinning White into a corner by explicitly asking her to evaluate Clark's 14-assist performance. You could literally see the physical pain on White's face. Watching her forced to mumble out compliments about Clark forcing the action in the ball screen and getting the ball out on time was like watching someone try to swallow a gallon of pure vinegar. She kept her answers incredibly brief, devoid of any actual passion or enthusiasm, before immediately pivoting back to discussing her own timeouts and defensive lapses. It is painfully obvious that every single word of praise she offers Clark is heavily mandated by a front office terrified of the ongoing public relations nightmare. The absolute reality of the situation is written all over the walls. The Indiana Fever organization is feeling the intense, burning heat from independent content creators and deeply educated fans who are slicing up the game film and exposing the coaching staff's incompetence. They are desperately trying to deploy awkward PR strategies, like random staff members reading stats in the locker room, to mask the reality that the head coach actively resents the superstar keeping her employed. But the fans see right through the corporate spin. Stephanie White can deflect to the defense all she wants, but the scoreboard doesn't lie. The Indiana Fever are on a massive winning streak because they are finally playing Caitlin Clark's system, and no amount of forced locker room speeches will ever change that absolute truth.